What's up, folks? Dave Swift here, clientamp.com. Today, I am checking out Mazaal AI. This is a lifetime deal available at AppSumo that allows you to connect your favorite applications together and automate tasks between them. A lot like Zapier, Make, N8N. There's really a laundry list of different applications that are similar to Mazaal. So, why should you have interest in this one? Well, it's got a very nice implementation of AI where you don't necessarily need to go through and manually create everything yourself. Instead, you can just type out exactly what you want to do. I want to connect my blog up to my email marketing tool, and it will build the automation for you. At least that's what it purports to do. So let's go ahead and test it out to find out how well it does. By the way, if you're new around here, this is That LTD Life, the show where I review the best and sometimes the worst LTDs on the internet to help you find the best tools for your business at a low operating cost. If you enjoy this sort of content, make sure you get subscribed to the channel and leave me a comment down below if you find any good LTDs you want me to review. Now, you should know that this video is sponsored by AppSumo, my very favorite place to buy LTDs on the internet. You can support my content by clicking on my AppSumo link down below before you make any purchases on the platform. All right, all that said, let's go ahead and review Mazaal. Okay, so this is what their UI looks like. On the surface, very, very simple and easy to understand. We really just have two different components that we're going to focus on. You've got AI agents, where you actually train Mazaal on your own data. And what I like about this is it's very easy to wind back into the second component that we're going to actually start with, the automation tool. So this is very much like Zapier. If you've ever used Zapier, you simply connect some tools together and then you can move data around, you can transform data. It can just really make your life a lot easier. But what's really cool about their AI agents is that now you can loop AI into the overall flow. You can even have a human intervention section. So if you're still a little suspicious about letting AI do too much, you can have it email when it needs some human approval. Yeah, overall, the thing looks like to be a great setup, but we have to find out how well it works. So let's start off with that example that I talked about in the intro. Can I connect up my blog to my email marketing tool? So here's a demo blog that I have running Ghost, and then I've got Modic over here, an email marketing tool. Now, can I have someone sign up for my blog using Ghost and then have them show up as a contact inside of Modic? You can see here, I've currently got no contacts inside of Modic, so we've got a little bit of work to do. Now, if I did this manually, it would be a lot of development work, but instead what I'm going to do is inside of Mazaal under Automate, I'll go to Copilot. I don't know why Copilot has become the general phrase to make the AI do it for me, but they're using that here, so I will continue to proceed to use it. Basically, I'm just going to write a custom prompt here and say, I want to connect up my Ghost site to my Modic site. So here is my exact prompt. I said, I want to connect my Ghost site to my Modic site. So when someone signs up for my membership, they're added as a contact in Modic. And then I said, bring in their email and name. All right, so I think that's pretty straightforward. We'll go ahead and click the Create AI Workflow button. You can see it's processing here, analyzing the prompt, identifying the integrations, setting things up. And before I can even read the instructions, it is ready to go. Let's see what we've got. So the flow is opening up and you can see there's two steps, very much like every automation platform. The first step is going to be the trigger. And then after that, you have the actions and they're just calling them steps here. So it identified Ghost CMS and Modic correctly. Now, what I need to actually do is, of course, connect up these platforms because it's not magic. You're still going to need to give it the login credentials so it can actually go to your website and it can go to your email marketing tool or whatever you're using. By the way, in a second here, I'll go through a pretty good list of all of the different platforms that Mazaal is going to support out of the box. All right, through the magic of editing, I have connected up Ghost and Modic. You can see the connection is listed right over here. If I wanted to add an additional Modic installation or Ghost installation, I could just click over and choose Create Connection. It gives you the directions that you need to go ahead and build out that connection. So we'll skip that for now, kind of boring stuff. So we've logged in essentially to both tools. And so when a member is added in Ghost, that is the trigger. It should create the contact inside of Modic. All right, so what we need to do here is, I suppose, test this out. It says the trigger needs to be tested, so I'll click right here. And it does say action required. Please go to Ghost and trigger a membership added. So let's do that. Okay, so here is the Go site. I'm going to go ahead and sign up. All right, I'll click sign up. It says check your email. So this does use two-factor authentication. I don't think it will work until I've actually authenticated it because it doesn't become a member inside of Go. So let me go ahead and check my email and get things validated. Yeah, so it's still looking for the trigger over here. And I've got the email up. I want to just see how quickly, after I confirm the sign up, that Mazaal is actually able to notice that a member has been added. So I'll click right here and we should see in real time this update. So we'll see how it goes. Confirm sign up. Oh, it actually closed the window there. But let's see. Oh, tested successfully. So it was instantaneous. Okay, so that takes care of step one. It adds the contact in. Now we need to actually connect it up to Modic. So let's go to step two here. And what I'm concerned about is it actually did not fill in any of the components here. I need to do that little bit of work. So this isn't a complete failure, but it definitely didn't automate the entire process for me, which I would have loved to have seen. So essentially inside of Modic, I want to have the first name. So I need to go ahead. This is very much like any other platform, right? So we'll go into the membership and now I'm under current and I can see the name is Dave. Let's insert that. And then under email, I will route over here to the email and we should have that connection made. Now, not the end of the world, but I think what would be really cool here is if the AI continued to be around, maybe like a little chat tool. This is their support. It's not the AI chat tool of my dreams, but essentially after it got these first two steps right, it would be really nice to be able to maybe do a revision like you might do with another AI tool, ChatGPT or Claude. Now, have the ability to go in and revise everything that they've already done. Cursor would be another great example of this. So we could say, all right, we've got that connection. I'm logged into my website. Now I want you to route everything correctly for me. This is a simple example. It doesn't take very much time for me to do just two fields, but if I had a more complex flow, the AI is probably going to fall apart. That's just going to leave me doing all of the work on my own. So while I liked getting started here, it wasn't a complete success. You know what? We're not done. We got to test this out. I'm going to test the step here, see if it logs into Modic for me and actually creates the contact. So I got a 201. That's a good sign. It means that everything was successful. I'll go back over to my Modic website. No contacts here right now. I'll hit refresh and hopefully there we go. It did work. So that integration was fairly easy to get going. Can't complain about it other than it wasn't completely done by the AI robots. We're getting so lazy as humans. Okay, so there's one flow done. Let's go ahead and just check out what tools are actually available for us to connect up together. And then I'm going to try another flow. I've got a good idea here. We'll talk about it in a second. So I'm going to click create flow and I'll just call this one demo. And what we're going to do is just take a look at the different apps that are available inside of the tool for us to connect up. So triggers, let's start with triggers. And one thing I've noticed is it's a little slow to just load up that blank template. It's coming here in 1 second. There we go. I got the icon loaded up and we're ready to go. So here are the triggers that are available. We've got Gmail, Google Sheets, human input. That's good. So that could come from a chat UI or a web form. Crons, essentially, we've got scheduling here that we can do. There is Slack, webhooks. So webhooks is really important because just about every application supports webhooks. It's kind of the standard for moving data around on the web. So good to see that there. Now we've got the more proprietary tools like ActiveCampaign, Airtable, Amazon S3, Beamer. That's an old AppSumo deal. Cal.com, Calendly, ChargeKeep. That is also an AppSumo deal. I think we're going to see quite a few different AppSumo deals on here. We've got ConvertKit. That's an old name. They're now just called Kit, if you didn't get the memo. We've got Drip. Facebook leads, important for marketers out there. We can use Facebook leads with this tool. Formbricks, Frame. Boy, there are so many. We'd be here all day. We already saw Ghost, Google Calendar. Just kind of scrolling through the list here. Gravity Forms, WordPress plugin. And you see IMAP. They also have SMTP connections, so sending and receiving emails. Jotform, Jira Cloud, Crisp for making phone calls. Another AppSumo deal, Moxie is on the list. TidyCal is there, one of AppSumo's own original tools. Todoist, Trello, and a ton of other tools. I've tried to cover them as best I can here, but it'd be like watching the Star Wars credits if I showed you every single one. Now, keep in mind, these are just the trigger applications. So, after I were to choose a trigger, let's say like WooCommerce, I could go ahead and choose a action step and I'll get entirely new selection of tools here. A lot of them are going to be the same, but there will be some new options, things like routing, approval, delays. By the way, approval, that is where we can actually have a human come into the loop and you can set up a process where a human has to approve something before the flow continues. Really, really smart step to include. On top of all of the applications, there's also a ton of really nice utilities. Like there is this code node right here. We've got crypto integrations if you're into that. We've got CSVs, data mappers, data summarizers, date helpers, so we can actually kind of parse information to find date formats, SFTP. Boy, there's a ton of different utilities, a math helper. Of course, you can just connect up like OpenAI if you want to go ahead and just go right to their API connection. So we've got Open Router, we've got the OpenAI. I believe Claude is in here as well. Yep, Anthropic is there. Yeah, there's even a section over here for AI. We've got Google Gemini, all of the big names that you'd expect to see, Perplexity, they're all listed here as integrations. All right, I want to create one more flow before we move on from this. My idea is this. Now, I use a tool called Free Scout. It's an open source help desk, and I want to create an automation that responds to the requests from my clients automatically using OpenAI. I want to be looped in before responses are sent, but the real kicker here is that Mazaal does not support Free Scout. FreeScope does operate with normal IMAP SMTP protocols, so it should be able to check and send and receive emails all through the same inbox. But let's find out if their AI tool is going to be smart enough to figure this out. So over in Copilot, I'm going to create a prompt. Okay, here is the specific prompt that I'm using. It says, when a customer sends in a support request to FreeScout, draft a reply using OpenAI's API, then wait for human approval, and after it's received, then create the email reply. Now, I think this is a pretty good prompt. I believe it should work, but we'll have to find out. Now, they do have this Show AI Assistant button right here. And essentially, when you click on this, it's just going to give you prompt writing tips like add in these specific systems that you want to utilize. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it as is because I think I mentioned all of the specific systems that I want. So let's create this workflow and see how it does. So same as before, it's speeding through the creation of the workflow. It's kind of funny to me that it can create an AI workflow basically as fast as it can open up a blank prompt. All right, we're good to go. Open up the workflow. Let's see what it says. All right, so this time it did create a new ticket in Zendesk, which is a little disappointing. I was hoping it would be smart enough to check an email inbox, but it did the next best thing that it knew, which was to find Zendesk. So what I can do here is actually just swap this out. So under trigger, I'll click the little disclosure and choose replace. So here I need to go to IMAP. That's going to be my trigger, IMAP. If I can spell, there it is, new email. So now I need to connect up my email inbox. All right, I've got my credentials entered in here. Let's go ahead and hit save. That is authenticated and I've got my connection here. And right away it finds all of the mailboxes. So I'll just choose inbox. And now on the next step, it did go to ask ChatGPT, but it's using the Azure OpenAI integration from Microsoft. And I don't want to use that. I want to use the standard OpenAI API connection. So that is a little bit disappointing as well. Pretty easy swap to make. We'll just choose replace and find OpenAI. And here is Ask ChatGPT. And then the next step is going to be to respond on human UI. And then finally, it would send off the email. It used Gmail here, but I would probably swap this out for SMTP. So I would just do the same thing, hit replace, choose SMTP, and then I connect up my email the same way I did IMAP previously. So overall, it's giving me some good ideas on how to actually build out the flow. Like if I'm unsure of how I could even do this sort of thing, it's going to throw out a concept there, and then I can just tweak it to fit whatever platforms I want to utilize. However, I wish it were just a little bit better. I wish maybe there was more back and forth. Hey, how do you want to do this? What applications do you want? Even just giving me a drop down to let me choose between the Azure and OpenAI connections would go a long way. Or like with Zendesk, I think it could probably figure out to send via a regular email or to check for something via a regular email. And maybe, again, just give me a prompt like, hey, can I just log into your email account? That'd be great if things were just even a little bit more conversational than they are. All right, so that was automations. Let's shift gears for a second and check out the AI agents. The idea here is that you're going to train an agent on some data, and then it can interact either with your customers, with your employees, or even just handle data parsing and automation all on its own. So let's create a new agent right here. And I've got two different types of agents to choose from. I can choose a conversational agent, which you should use for customer support or personalized assistance, or I could go with a data intelligence agent, which you should use for document processing and intelligent data routing. I do have to call out here the fact that they added workflow automation to both of these agents, so just kind of confusing for the layperson. But for now, I'm going to stick with the conversational agent, and I went ahead and chose AppSumo Support as my agent's name. My idea is, hey, maybe AppSumo themselves could offload some of their support requests over to Mazaal and use their AI agent to answer some of the more common questions that they probably get on a day-to-day basis. So in order to train this bot, I've got a few different options. I can upload a document. So maybe somewhere in AppSumo, they have some internal training. You could just upload a PDF right here, or you can paste text in directly, or you can even grab a website's URL. So let's say I went to like the AppSumo about page. Here it is. I could just go ahead and grab this URL and then paste it right into Mazaal. Now, it does say that some websites might block web crawling, and if it doesn't actually work, you're going to need to upload a document or paste in the text directly. And you know what? When I click on load, 0 pages are found. So let me go ahead and do what they suggest. I will paste in the text directly. All right, I've got it copied, pasted in. You can choose a primary language, choose whether or not I want to store the chat history. We can set up the agent's personality. It can be a general assistant. It could be a customer support specialist, a coding assistant, a language tutor, life coach. You get the idea here. Lots of different options. And then finally, we've got some custom instructions for the AI chatbot. So I got this set to be a customer support agent. I left the prompt exactly as it was. Let's go ahead and create this new agent. All right, so it's working. It says I can view the agent. Let's do that. All right, and here it is. Like it says it's in English, history is disabled, and JSON output is also disabled. Let's go ahead and use it. We'll fire it up. And it says ask anything related to the document from the agent. Let's do something really specific, like who is the general manager of originals? Let's go ahead and ask it that. All right, who is the general manager of originals? The agent is thinking, and it gave me the correct answer. David Kelly is the general manager of originals. So very surface level here, but it does appear to be functioning correctly. Now, if you're wondering, each of these agents has a 2 million character limit. That's quite a bit of text. So it'd be very easy to load in a ton of information here, and then you can actually embed it on your website. You can do so as a website widget, or you can connect it up to Facebook Messenger. So some really good options here to utilize this as a support agent or sales agent. There's really a ton of different options. But what I like the most is that this agent is now available for me to utilize inside of my workflow. So if I go back to my automation here, and let's just revisit our customer support workflow here, I'll open up the flow. Instead of asking ChatGPT, I could actually ask the agent here. I'm going to replace this with Mazaal AI agent, and I can ask the agent, and I can ask the agent here. I will choose my AppSumo support agent, and there you go. The question will come from the email. So, I need to load in a trigger there for an example, but yeah, really, really nice way to have your own customer support agent, basically your own in-house specialized agent, be able to answer customer support. And then, of course, it would go off to human approval as the next step. Love this. Very, very simple, but instantly profitable application of this lifetime deal. All right, the last thing I want to touch on here is collaboration. A lot of times in these types of tools, it can be a little bit isolating, but there's some really good sharing options here inside of Mazaal. If you notice right up here, there is a share button. And if I click on this, it's very easy for me to generate a link to share the entire workflow. This way, anyone using Mazaal can go ahead, copy this and paste it into their Mazaal and clone my workflow. And if you get AppSumo Tier 3 or Tier 4, you get multiple users on your account. So Tier 3 is 5 users, and Tier 4 is going to be unlimited users. What's really cool about this is you just go under Organization in your account settings, and then you'll be able to find the member invitation section right down here, where you can actually add additional members to your account and share workflows that way. So, however you decide to do it, there are options to make sure that your workflows, your automations can be shared amongst your entire team or even your clients. All right, let's wrap things up here by just taking a glance at the plans and pricing from AppSumo. You can see that Tier 1 is going to give you a single user 10,000 credits per month, 500 AI credits per year. These are annual credits, not monthly credits. Important to note. You get a single AI agent and 200,000 knowledge base size. So I'm on Tier 3. That's why I had a 2 million knowledge base size earlier in the video. If you need an even bigger knowledge base, you can go up to Tier 4. But I would say that Tier 3 really looks like the sweet spot for most businesses. You're going to get 5 users. That's enough for most organizations. 2 million character size for your knowledge base. That's pretty big. And we get access to premium apps on Tier 3, whereas on Tier 1 and 2, we do not. So yeah, I think the Tier 3 Mazaal is a pretty good value. Okay, so here are my final thoughts on Mazaal. I think this tool is actually setting off to solve a real problem. The idea that regular users are supposed to log into make.com or Zapier and then just figure out how all of these automations are meant to work. It's kind of like asking someone in the 80s to program a VCR. It just was not happening. So the concept here is really strong. The execution is not quite there yet, but it's still early days. I hope they continue to double down, innovate on that prompting solution to actually make the automation creation process so much easier because yeah, just getting a list of steps and then tweaking them already a huge help, but let me continue to work with the AI to revise it, to make sure that the data gets into the right spot. If they could do that, it would be a slam dunk, really huge product. Now, I'm going to give you my final score here in a moment, but you should know that AppSumo is doing AI Week next week. I expect a ton of AI tools to hit the marketplace, and you can believe that I'm going to be covering them to the best of my ability. So get subscribed if you have not already done so. All right, Mazaal, I like this one quite a bit. It's got a little room for improvement, as I've already mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7-1. Hit me up in the comments with any questions, comments, anything you want to see more from me on this channel. I'm definitely open to your feedback. My name is Dave. Click my link in the AppSumo description to support this content, and I'll see you in the next review.